Welcome to the Made for Business show where Catholic moms come to build a business from peace while raising kids. Are you scared to be humiliated in your business? That's what we're talking about today, my friends. And this is an interesting topic because I am scared of a lot of things in business, but being humiliated isn't one of them. And recently I had a few conversations, thank you, Holy Spirit, all around the same time with my clients about their fear of being humiliated in business. And that word too, humiliated. You know, the dreams that we have where we are like naked in front of the class. I've never had one of those. I don't think I'm very scared of being humiliated, but having coached on this recently, I thought, I wonder if there are a lot of women who really play small in their businesses and are holding them back because they're scared of this feeling humiliation. Let's talk about it today. So first, ask yourself, are you scared of being humiliated? Have you ever been humiliated before? What's the most humiliating thing that's ever happened to you? Humiliation is even a deeper feeling than embarrassment, right? I feel like we can feel a little embarrassed with a little heat in our cheeks. Oh, that's a little embarrassing. Maybe like when we pronounce a word wrong. I for sure said Augustine for a long time, okay? Like when you become Catholic, you don't get a special book that says, here's an old-timey way of pronouncing a bunch of words. You think it's going to be A, but really it's going to be B. This is how you should say it. Like that's just a low-level embarrassment. And then there's humiliation. And so if you're scared of humiliation, I want you really to be curious. Have you ever been humiliated before? And what is the difference between embarrassment and humiliation? Because brains are very dramatic. And so they're going to just tell you like, oh, you're going to be humiliated. But again, that's a really strong word. And I think it's definitely a high school word, like a schooling word, because kids can be very mean and things can happen to us really in any of the school age levels where something happens and we're really embarrassed. And it's not just the embarrassing thing that happens, but it's then collectively the kids get together and like point at you and laugh at you. Now, I made it all the way through college without social media. Like that didn't come onto the scene until later. And so now I think there's this extra level of humiliation where things are captured on video and shared over and over again. So to me, humiliation really is such a high school word, which is fine. Let's just check in with that and just go, oh, what happened to you when you were in school? Or what did you see happen to other people? Maybe it didn't happen to you. Maybe you just saw the behavior of teenagers against someone else and it looked so scary. And your brain just kind of wired that, oh no, we better never stand out too much or make such a big mistake or look so foolish that we will be humiliated. And I want you just to sit with this for a moment. Just, that's interesting. Embarrassment, humiliation. Because we're adults. Like even right now, if someone you know took her toddler in the middle of Mass to the bathroom, and then she came back and her skirt was tucked into the back of her pantyhose. And she walked all the way down the church aisle to the front. And everyone saw her like big giant underwear. We all wear big giant underwear. Big giant underwear. And her pantyhose. I'm not sure anybody wears pantyhose anymore, but maybe. Okay. Is she humiliated? What do you think about that mom? And the reason I want you to think about this is because we are not teenagers anymore. And so there's this weird Lord of the Flies thing that happens in school, and no other environment is quite like that. So there's a bunch of hormones, there's a bunch of jockeying for power, and there's a bunch of like cliques, and you're in the clique and then you're out of the clique. And your social standing can change very quickly, and it feels pretty permanent sometimes at the middle school and high school level. And it creates this deep scarring and wounding and trauma. And again, even if it didn't happen to you, if you witnessed that, you would have this feeling inside of you of not wanting to take risks in your business because you don't want to be humiliated. But I want you to kind of invite your brain up to some scenarios and just show your brain that most of us now as adults don't do that. You would not shun your friend from the moms group. You would not gather 5 of your other friends and totally laugh and make fun of this woman behind her back. You wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. Did you see her underwear? No. First of all, if it were me, I would go up to that woman and I would just say, I am so sorry. That has happened to me before. Or that must feel terrible. I would just validate for her how terrible it was and that it just doesn't mean anything. Like, it's fine. No one cares. You're doing a good job. You're a good mom. That is how I would treat that woman. And she, of course, would feel some level of embarrassment, but she's not going to be kicked out of the cool kids club. She's not going to not get asked to prom. Right? And so we want to pay attention to when our brain is bringing up these kind of childish feelings, and I literally just mean like of our childhood. What could you do right now that would be humiliating? And, I was thinking about business things that I've done that I've been embarrassed about. I've definitely sent out emails with, when we switched our email platform and started writing some of our emails ahead of time, I didn't know that there was a second place I had to open to change the subject line. So 3 times in a row, because I forgot. So that's extra embarrassing. Like, I didn't just do it once, I did it 3 times. I sent out an email and the subject line was bracket, email template, bracket. Okay. And yeah, I was embarrassed about that. But nobody came after me with pitchforks. Nobody threw rotten fruit at me. Nobody demanded that I close my business because I wasn't mature enough, organized enough to have a business. And so really force your brain to go through the scenario. What if you send out an email with typos? What if you send out your first launch email and your cart is broken and people can't check out? What if you put the wrong price on something? We feel even more sensitive about money things. Like, just force yourself to answer it. What would happen? What do you think people would think? What would you think? And then what would happen to your business? And I'm not saying that it doesn't feel terrible to feel embarrassment, but there is a jump from embarrassment to humiliation. And the feeling of humiliation might be so scary to your brain that you're not sending any emails out. And let's go to the place where this has happened to 2 of my clients where they worked really hard, ton of emails, ton of Instagram reels, and they did a launch and no one signed up. How do you think that feels? How do you think it feels to tell your husband? Like, you sold this to your husband. I'm going to do this business. I'm going to learn all these things. We usually invest money in the business. And then to have it not work. How would you feel? And then what would happen? And then what would happen is really important. Because right now your brain thinks, and then you'll be called, pantyhose Polly for the rest of school, which probably would be true if you were in middle school. The stakes on those things are actually high. I don't agree with that children treat each other that way, but they do. And you might be pantyhose Polly for 2 more years. But that's not going to happen to you as an adult. You're not going to be branded some crazy thing. You're going to feel terrible. You might cry for a couple days. And then you're going to dust yourself off and you're going to do business for the Lord because he asked you to. And then you're also not going to come to physical harm. I mean, your brain also has this, and then we're going to fall into a black hole of death. And I can't see anything else beyond that. And so really step your brain through it. Yep, we'd cry. We'd feel pretty bad. We'd feel kind of embarrassed telling the husband. Your mother-in-law might go, how's your little business doing? How'd that launch go? And you'd have to say, actually, nobody bought. Or maybe you'd just say, it's going fine. And you'd feel terrible inside your body. And that's it. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. And the answer for this is to really sit with your brain and scenario some things out that it thinks are humiliating and just step it through and say, brain, this is what would happen if we did this. Humiliation, the fear of being humiliated, will hold you back in your business. And it's just not even real. I have never had the naked dream, but many, many times, so many times, I've had this dream that I think it's happened to me, but it has not, where someone has hired me to speak at a conference and I get on the stage and I can't remember what I was going to say. And it's just silence. And it just, the silence keeps going on and everyone's staring at me and I just can't even get any words out. I've just completely forgotten what I want to say. So I've had that dream so many times. That has never happened to me. I never forget what to say. But even now I could be like, okay, well, probably even if that happened and I really fumbled the first 2 minutes of it, I would get it together and then say something. And it may not be polished and I may have a lot of ums in there, but I would do it. And then maybe everyone in that room would think, she's not a great speaker. Can I handle that that room of people would think that about me? And often when your brain is scared of being embarrassed or humiliated, oftentimes when I really press in on my clients, it's that they're worried about one or two people. It's not even like the collective world. I'm scared that my sister will see my Instagram reels and judge me. And that's really it. It's not even necessarily the feeling of humiliation. It's just this idea that my sister might see my Instagram reel and think I'm kind of foolish or silly and judge me. And then I would feel terrible about that. Which is great because when I'm coaching them, I'm like, awesome, let's explore that. What's going on there? Do we want to care about what the sister thinks? Have we even talked to the sister? Maybe she doesn't think any of those things. Do not let fear keep you from doing what God wants you to do. And that is just always the antidote to all of it. Was it Justice Clarence who said, I'm willing to be foolish for God every day? It wasn't his original, be a fool for the Lord. But I remember seeing that he said that. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That a Supreme Court justice was just willing to look foolish for God. And that was just such a great role model to me because he has such a public job, such a, polarizing job. He has to sit in conflict all the time and make these difficult decisions. And when you're a Supreme Court justice, pretty much all the time, half the people are upset with you about what you chose. But are we willing to be fools for Christ? Or are we going to be so self-involved? Are we going to care so much about our ego that the fear of embarrassment or humiliation or looking foolish or making a mistake keeps us from doing what he wants us to do? So listen, if you know that God has called you to business and you're putting things off and you're playing small or you're doing a bunch of busy work but you're not really doing business, I want you to come join the Made for Business Society because these are the conversations that we have in there. We talk about what God is leading us to and how we are getting in the way of his holy business plan. But when we discern his business plan and then we clean up our mind and we just do it, it feels way better. You will have way more energy. It actually is very exhausting to sit around and worry about being embarrassed. And it gets us nowhere. And don't spend weeks or months doing that. Come join us and we will cheer you on. I will give you the tools you need to build your business. And all of us lead each other to the Lord. And that is just the most beautiful thing. So go check out the Made for Business Society, which now lives at sterlingjquith.com. We moved all the business stuff there. And stay tuned because next week I am announcing the next live event for the Marian Mastermind. It's going to be somewhere warm in February, and I'm very excited about it. All right, ladies, get to work. Praying for you. Have a blessed day. If you're a Catholic mom who wants to start, grow, or scale your business, I want you to follow this account. And if you're interested in having a Catholic business coach and joining one of my programs, go check them out at sterlingjquith.com.